this is Beth from Cambria Nursery Florist. So happy you could join us today. Today seems like a good day to talk about camellias since we're in middle of January and this is kind of their showiest season, particularly for the Camellia japonicas. Here at Cambria Nursery, we have 4 different types or varieties of camellias. We have Camellia sasanqua. Camellia sasanqua has a narrower leaf, and this particular species is a lower grower. Camellia sasanquas grow primarily, they bloom in the fall and winter. So if you want a camellia for that Christmas party you're having and people are going to walk outside for some reason, this is the camellia you want, Camellia sasanqua. Camellia japonica over here is a little bit later, so it's an early winter into spring. We also have Camellia reticulatas that are a little bit taller, and I would use them in a setting more like a wilder setting. Then we also have hybrids like this Taylor's Perfection here. And we have Camellia sinensis. And if you like white tea, green tea, or black tea, this is the camellia that you get this from, right? It's the new growth of a Camellia sinensis. So if I was going to plant this at my house, I actually have this, and I would put this in a kitchen garden with my herbs and my vegetables. Some people think of this plant as a tea plant, Leptospermum scoparium, or a Melaleuca as a tea plant, but at least going back 100 years or so, a tea plant was pretty much only this plant here, the Camellia sinensis. That's kind of the trouble with using common names, is that you get into, you know, this pine, that pine, what have you. But this camellia is what you make your tea out of. What we have here right now at the nursery is Taylor's Perfection, White Doves, High Fragrance, Showa Supreme, or Showa Supreme, I think would be how you pronounce it. It's a Japanese name. Ace of Hearts, Buttons and Bows, Sagao, Nuccio's Gem, Tata, Shooting Star, Alba Plena, Red Hots, and Ferris Wheel. Those are the ones that we have right now here at the nursery. We typically buy ours from Nuccio's down in Southern California, Altadena, and we also buy from Monrovia Nursery. That's typically where we get our plants from. Why would you have a camellia? They're slow growing, so they don't require a lot of care in that way. Once they're in the ground, you'll fertilize them a couple times during the year. You'll fertilize them. They don't require a lot of cutting because they are slow growers. I mean, if you want to trim them, don't trim them when they're blooming. You'll feed them when they very first start to set on. Some people will even pull off a few buds so the flowers that they get will be larger, almost like a fruit tree. I don't, but some people certainly do. It's a nice flower to have in the wintertime. It's also an evergreen broadleaf, so if you're somebody that doesn't like pines or any kind of coniferous plant, this is a nice alternative to that. Great plant, lots of history. Most camellias come from Korea, Japan, China, somewhere over in the Orient, and so you really see you see them used in Japanese gardens sometimes. Then, of course, we developed a love for camellias here in America, and Europe developed a love for camellias. If you want to see a garden in this area that has camellias, the Lodge Garden certainly does, has a couple beautiful specimens there. In Northern California, you'd want to go to Filoli, They have beautiful gardens filled with camellias up there, and then down in Descanso Gardens in Southern California in the Pasadena area. And Huntington Gardens too has wonderful collections of camellias. And speaking of collections, it's one of the plants that people tend to collect. About camellias are that once you get them in the ground, and that's almost like an avocado, that's the hardest part. If you're going to do it wrong, it's going to be in the planting. Because when you plant this, you never want to have it below grade. You want a camellia, because the top feeder roots are so important, you don't want to damage them, just like pulling it out and being rough with it in the planting will really, really damage a camellia. You want to put it in the ground, you want to have nice mulch below it. It enjoys a slightly acidic soil, meaning pH level on the lower side. Some friends of camellias would be rhododendrons, ferns, and azaleas. These are good things to plant with your camellias. They all enjoy the same type of care. Things I wanted to show you. We have a couple great planting mix for camellias. One would be the G&B acid planting mix, and then over here we have EB Stone, same thing. Both great for camellias. The fertilizer I'm showing you is a rhododendron, azalea, and camellia mix. So this would be a great fertilizer to use when you're fertilizing your camellia. We also carry cottonseed meal too, and that would be another good one. If it gets chlorotic, and sometimes camellias can need a little bit more iron, which none of these do, but sometimes they can, where you see a lot of yellow in the leaf itself, then you would want to use something to add a little bit of chelated iron. We do have Maxi acid formula, which is great to feed your camellias with, and we can help you with that as well. The first thing I always tell people when they have plant problems, well, two things. One, plants have an expiration date, so they, just like people, they do die. That happens sometimes. The second thing, the most important thing, is keep your plants healthy. So those items would help you do that. If you've got a plant that has scale or mites or something, you could use neem oil, or even a horticulture oil would be good for that. One of the nice things about a camellia is that they tend to be relatively deer resistant. A deer will pick something else rather than a camellia first. Now that's not to say that they won't eat camellias. They will, but it wouldn't be the first thing they would pick. So if I planted one and I knew I had a lot of deer in the area, but especially with the young deer, the fawns and whatnot, you might want to spray this on the leaves at first, because that will really help it deter the deer. As you can see, I love camellias. It's one of my very, very favorite plants. I hope that maybe I've piqued your interest in camellias. They're not hard to grow. They're one of the easier plants to grow if you plant them right. Put them in the right spot with some dappled light, some nice shade like we have. They can tolerate sun, but they really do better in a little bit of shade. Zones 7 through 9 they grow in, and here at the nursery we're a zone 9, but they certainly grow in other areas as well, zone 7 to 9 particularly. I love camellias. I hope you come in and ask us about the camellias we have. We are very happy to help you, and I invite you in. Thanks. Bye-bye.